from either illiquidity, and they were seeming to run on fractional reserve. So if you want to, you can go to Twitter. I have reposted that idea. You can also go to cointelegraph.com and read through Brian Armstrong's work here. He says, and I'll just quote this really quickly. It says, in a series of tweets suggested the exchange, which is currently undergoing the restructuring process due to bankruptcy and owing its creditors around $190 million, they did not actually attempt fraud. Quadriga was one of the oldest exchanges in existence, founded in 2013, and if they planned this exit scam, it would have been timed much better. Users of the now defunct Quadriga fund are currently battling through courts to secure those missing funds, and the exact circumstances under which their CEO and their deposits had disappeared remain uncertain, but the exchange's CEO, Gerald Cotton, unexpectedly did die in September, which does conclude the fact that this was not an exit scam, just like a likely poor distribution of those fractional funds. Coinbase CEO Brian Armstrong also went on to said, suggesting that the operations posed questions about the management, saying the sequence of events suggests this was a mismanagement with later attempts to cover up for it, adding this implies that at least a few people inside Quadriga knew that they were running a fractional reserve basis of the Bitcoin funds. So if so, it is possible to think that the untimely death of the CEO was used as an outlet to let the company sink. So just diving into the charts again here now, we see Bitcoin is bouncing up right against this really heavy area around the $4,500 mark. I can't express enough how important it is to pay attention, because what we're really trying to chart here isn't the technicals of the token itself. We're actually looking at people's emotions in buying and selling. So technical analysis is always looked at as rather a kind of a dry source of information. It's actually incredibly colorful. This is full of the world's thoughts and feelings about what Bitcoin's price should be right now. And that really comes down to people's sentiments. It's totally abstract to think, but the reason someone can charge so much for a Banksy painting is because someone is willing to pay for that, and someone is willing to sell it for that price. This is what inevitably comes up with the price structuring. It's all sentiment. There is no real value to a Banksy painting. It's only the value at which two people wish to decide to make a transaction based off, and Bitcoin is no different. Every asset functions under that category. None of these are meant for survival. This is all specifically a privilege. The privilege to value something comes after we have our basic survival and necessity needs met. So again, Bitcoin, if you roll in on the 15-minute chart here, has been bouncing up against the $4,000 mark. This is not a great sign. I'm not going to say that this is an ascending triangle, because the points break out a little bit too much, but you could see it going that direction. This flat top, and I believe if you ascending triangle on Investopedia, they're always one of my favorites to kind of look at this charting. Here we go, the ascending triangle definitions. That's too small of a photo. It's going to help nobody. Okay, so here you go. What is the ascending triangle? It's a chart pattern used to create price movements that allow for the horizontal line to be drawn by the swing highs and the rising trend line by the swing lows. So that's what we just drawn at the top. These usually do end up breaking down. Again, here you can see the ascending triangle actually ends up breaking down. I do suspect that will be the case in Bitcoin again, bringing us to even lower prices. We've had this on our assertion and the table for many months now. The reason we chart all the time is because it's something that we like and we enjoy educating ourselves about. It's fascinating to watch all these charts and graphs and try to make sense of all of this colorful and emotional information. Again, one of the best things you can do as a trader, as an investor, is remove your emotions and really try to look at some of the fundamentals. I can tell by the conversations that people are having on the chat and around this space that the emotions are not removed yet, and that is a rather dangerous way to play. People are like, oh, you're hyper, or you're FOMOing, or you're FUDing. You want to remove all of that and just try to come up with a critical decision to make. Well, where's my entry point and where's my exit point? I mean, there's no sense in being married to something forever when a lot of what we're trying to do with our assets and our portfolio in general is to hedge our bets so that our bottom is actually not that bad of a bottom at all. It's the investment of our time and energy and the growth of these assets is nothing but more responsibility in life. It doesn't make life necessarily easier. It just means there's more work that you can accomplish with the tools that you have. So I'm going to take a quick look at Ethereum here as well, because it did bounce up to the $150 mark again. Again, both Litecoin and Ethereum seem to follow lockstep with Bitcoin. Here you see a very similar ascending triangle that you can draw with the flat top, and the ascending bottom here. And we've touched that a few times now. I do suspect we'll probably break down within the next 24 hours. Again, the RSI on the 15-minute chart hasn't been able to break into the oversold since we went to that last high. And on the hourly chart here, we've been on the around 60% range for the relative strength index as well. Litecoin is doing the same thing, although the predominance of that triangle doesn't exist. We do see we've actually hit multiple highs around this $50 area. And if you zoom out into the one-day chart, it actually becomes a little bit more noticeable where we're looking at some of these areas. So these lines are not drawn very sharply, but if you do draw it all the way back to June and February of 2017, and we zoom into that line, we can see that we actually have multiple highs being tested right around this $50 mark at 1, 2, 3, 4 times before it ever broke out past the $50 range. Now, this could be, again, a bullish signal, but I do not believe it is, only because we have not exited a bear market. People believe that bear market sentiments can end overnight. They do not. They can start overnight, as we see. If we roll down to the S&P 500, this is what I believe most of the sentiment will come from, is the global marketscape as a whole. I believe that as market sentiments in general start to collapse, there is nothing that will keep any price up, because everyone starts to worry more about survival, removing that privilege of valuing things outside of our regular continuity of life. So again, I'm entirely surprised, I guess to some degree, that it was able to make it up to 270. I'd originally guessed 270 would be the top for the S&P 500, but I do look back, you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 retests, and now the 7th retest of the 2,777 point right here. So I do suspect that we're right at the top in the S&P 500, and these two together are going to be very important to keep an eye on. Anyways, that's my market rants and sentiments for today. I hope you guys are having a wonderful time. Remember, none of this is investment advice. This is strictly for information and educational purposes only. The reason I show up every day and I try to do these things is A, I'm learning, and I love to share the process of learning. A great teacher once told me, said the best way to learn something is to try to teach somebody else. I've taught many different musical instruments. I used to even teach bass guitar lessons, and one of the things that I can fundamentally say is that I agree with that sentiment. Anytime we learn something, the best way to make sure that we know that is to see if we can teach it to somebody else. So again, remember that I don't necessarily know what the heck it is that I am doing, but me going through my learning process and sharing that over every day, I have definitely gained a lot of information. Again, places like Investopedia, there are great books out there as well. I've currently been reading one. Here, I'll actually screen share this book with you guys because it's quite a popular one as well. It's called Candlesticks and Fibonacci and Chart Patterns. It's a synergetic strategy to enhance profits and reduce risk. It's by Robert Fisher and Jen Fisher as well. So I suggest taking a look at some of these books. They're just fun to read through. I mean, I throw them in there alongside the philosophy like Seneca and stuff. And the reason why I think this is so interesting is because as soon as you drop into it, this is all complex, what I would consider universal mathematics. For instance, the Fibonacci sequence, again, is one of those extremely important factors in the way life expresses itself through pine cones, or the way our bones and the body grow, or the nautilus shell. The Fibonacci sequence and its relation to phi exists everywhere in nature. So the fact that we can learn more about this type of conscious mathematics and apply it to our trading principles is extremely valuable to me, because these are insights and ideas that I've always been interested in. So whatever it is you're doing, we hope you do more research, grow your education, grow your own mind, invest in your own patience, invest in your own whatever it is, your charisma. You are your most important asset. Make sure you're giving time and love to yourself. This is Tea with the Arcane Bear. I'm signing off for the rest of the day. We have a podcast that we're uploading this evening. I had the wonderful, talented, and awe-inspiring Matthew Silver on the show last night. I'm uploading that now. I'm very grateful for any of you that happen to be down at Envision. I will be here as well. So make sure you pat me on the shoulder and try to confuse me by patting me on the wrong shoulder. This is Tea with the Arcane Bear. Smash that likes button. hit the subscribe bell and all those fun things. Leave your comments and your thoughts below. If you haven't joined our Telegram channel yet, please do that in the links as well. There are tons of great people in our community that are very supportive, and when I am not here and I'm running around in the jungle, there are other people there that are also learning and sharing their process and learning, becoming better teachers as well. I'm signing off for the rest of the afternoon, and we'll see you guys on the next video.